I am an Australian guy living here in Minsk, Belarus, and here are three things that I couldn't imagine would have been the case when I first moved here to Belarus, because I just came here because it was the easiest place to go to and the place where I knew I could live just the most normal life, right? So I came here in the middle of 2021, and at this point in time, pretty much no one would take you, but if they would, there'd be a lot of restrictions and problems and so forth, and Belarus was just the easiest country to get into. I got myself a nice 5-month student visa at a university to learn a little bit of Russian. I had no real intention of learning Russian, of course, I just wanted the visa, and I figured after 5 months this whole COVID thing would have blown over and I'd be able to go off on my merry way to a more desirable location. With that backdrop, I'm still here. 1 year and 2 weeks later, I'm still here in Minsk, Belarus, and if you had told me that 1 year and 2 weeks ago, I would have laughed at you, right? I'd be like, no way I'm going to stick around in this place I don't even know. But sure enough, here I am, a mixture of external and internal reasons. But overall, I found life to be very comfortable here. Everything works well, functions well. You don't get a lot of dopamine hits here, there's not a lot of exciting things happening. But in terms of just having a nice functional life, it works really well here. The second thing, if you could imagine, my first exposure to Belarusian food was in the university cafeteria. Now, in the university cafeteria, the menu has not changed since the 1950s, right? It's got borscht, it's got draniki, it's got just bits of meat with cheese on it, it's got grechka, buckwheat, all these very, very simple meals. And at the start, I'm like, it's edible, And then I reckon after about the second month at university, I'm like, I can't eat this crap anymore. I literally can't take this shit food. I just can't eat it. I will eat anything else. And I started eating everything else in Minsk. Georgian food, Italian food, Vietnamese food, different kinds of Arab food, all this kind of stuff. And what I found as the year wore on is that I enjoyed Belarusian food more and more. To the point where I'd even crave it. I'm not kidding you. I actually crave Belarusian food because it's kind of normal for me now. Like the Belarusian draniki, it's like normal draniki, right? Fried potato pancakes. It's like a round area and then it's kind of folded over, right? Just like a large sized pancake, as you'd imagine in the West. And usually it's folded over and there'll be something in the middle, a bit of meat and some potato or carrot or onion or whatever. Now these are good, very oily, but good. And then there's the Belarusian version of draniki, which is only about kind of that big, right? It's not very big. It's a bit thicker than normal draniki, and it has a little bit of meat inside, a little bit of kind of minced up meat in the middle, and then you whack a big of sour cream on top. And I love this food, and I find myself craving it. So I've gone from tolerating it to just despising it. A couple of months in, it's like, what is this crap? Like really, why do people eat this? There's a world of food out there. Why are you eating this crap, right? That's how I felt after 2 months, honestly. But now, it's normalized for me, and I crave it. I enjoy it. It's the craziest thing. I'm so surprised I've gone through this cycle. But now I like a lot of Belarusian foods. Those simple chicken cutlets you get, I like them. Medovik, love it. Srniki, all this stuff, different kind of cheese desserts, I love them. I eat buckwheat 3 or 4 times a week. The third thing that's really surprised me after my 12-month venture here is that I've taken up the language pretty well. Like, I'm certainly not fluent, but I've put in the time and effort and practiced, and I can now function in a range of scenarios. Again, not fluent, I can't just freestyle with random people so much, but if there's a context, I can do it. I can understand, I can articulate what I want to say more or less, because in Australia, we're kind of shut off from the world, right? I mean, if you're a European, you probably know 3 or 4 languages, because you only got to go for an hour drive that way, and the people speak some other different language, right? So you need to know these languages. There's a reason. But in Australia, there's no logical language to learn. We have English, like we have kind of Indonesia there, but we're kind of culturally separate from Indonesia, so people don't usually learn Indonesian. And most of our neighbours are also either obviously Southeast Asian, going up to East Asia. We don't have anything in common with these cultures. We don't vibe with them much, so we've never really learned their language. Then you got other European languages, maybe some Italian, maybe some French, and we do learn these in high school, but we never really go on with them properly because there's no need to, we might develop a little bit of a fetish for a certain language and maybe do it through the later parts of high school. But very rarely you find an Australian who's fluent in a second language outside of English. Now the big exception to this is if their parents are from another country outside of Australia. Maybe they're Italian, or they're Greek, or they're Chinese. In that case, they might well be fluent. But outside of that, it's very rare for Australians to know more than one language. And me myself, I'd known maybe up to 50 words in many languages of countries that I'd been to, but I'd never been able to actually construct a sentence, listen carefully, understand grammar, and be able to express myself properly. So I'm pretty surprised by this, but very happy at the same time. There's something very fulfilling about living in a society, learning their language, and then being able to speak the language with them. It's a very, very fulfilling experience. So these are 3 things that I did not expect. I did not expect these 3 things when I first moved to Minsk, but they happened, and to varying extents, I'm kind of happy that they happened. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a like so I know that you like this kind of content and I can make more of it in the future. If you are a subscriber, I really appreciate it. Thank you again. I'm glad we could spend this time together. If you're not yet a subscriber, I don't know why you're not. You've got fingers. There's a subscribe button right there. All you got to do is press it and we can spend some more time together in the future. Okay, so that video was not super long. It's the end though. I've covered the topic, but I'm just going to go for a walk with you guys. If you want to enjoy surrounds a little bit longer, let me just put a little bit of zoom in there without getting too bumpy. And I'm just going to walk along here near the Amiga River on the way down to Galleria. Of course, we have Coffix here on the left. Very famous franchise here in Belarus. Cheap coffee in big sizes. Very much pitched at mass market. And it is funny here actually, because in most countries you go to, you have a really wide range of prices. So you might have, in terms of restaurants, you might have, I'll just talk about Australia for an example. I mean, you have your, in US dollars, maybe your $8 to $10 range, and all the way through to, some friends were telling me there was sushi place, Japanese sushi place, 3 of them, and paid $1,000 US for the 3 of them. A bit of a junket thing they were doing. You're going to have this wide range. Most countries like this have a really wide range of prices, but here it's not so. There's nothing really super expensive because no one earns a lot. The economy's on some levels a little bit communist still, not really, but it is. Especially if you work for the government. The pay scales are very condensed here. So no one's really poor, no one's really rich. Everyone just kind of earns their, clears $400 or $500 US after tax maybe a month for a typical job. Doesn't really matter what you do, you kind of earn the same. Now of course there's glamour professions and international connections and stuff that change that, but outside of IT and English and crypto and logistics and a few other things, outside of that, everyone kind of earns the same. So as a result, the restaurant prices don't vary that much. And we were just at a place called Fabrique, which is a very well-known thought restaurant. Everyone wants to be seen in photos there. It's a really shameless kind of place, but my friend and I were just walking past and he's like, hey, feel like a pizza? I'm like, hey, yeah, let's do it. And it's the same price you'd get in most other restaurants. Cheapest to most expensive, you might maybe double the price. That's it. That's your range, and that reflects the very condensed paychecks here, very condensed incomes. You don't get that really high-end expensive stuff so much. You might have a couple of bars maybe that do, but not really. Not really mainstream things. They're just really catering to probably a few dozen guys. Whereas Fabrique then, we just went at like 5 in the evening or afternoon. And it was pretty busy then, and it'll be busy later. They probably go through a couple hundred people a day. So that's very famous, very well known here. That was good food. Had the salmon, shrimp and cream cheese pizza. It was good. One of the better pizzas I've had here. So today, you'll notice, if you're observant, you'll notice that there's a fair bit of rain on the ground. And it is October, and I believe October does have a bit of rain, although I looked it up and it's not that rainy actually. Someone told me it's very rainy in October, but I looked it up and it's not the most rainy month. It's fairly rainy, not super rainy. So when I looked it up, I found out all these fun facts about the rain here in Belarus. Apparently there is, well, last year, I'm not sure if it was last year or whether it's an average, but it was about 740 millimeters, so around 75 centimeters. So we've been in the vicinity of 30 inches of rain throughout the year. Remembering, of course, that rain doesn't exist when it's below zero. Of course, it freezes. So 740. I know I looked up in Melbourne, and Melbourne was the average was, I think, 680. So very close, very similar. Melbourne's kind of known as being a bit rainy, a bit cold, a bit rainy. It's kind of how we roll there. But I was surprised here. You know when like you notice something and then you make a bit of a decision or form an opinion on it, but then it changes. So for example here, I thought, gee, there's a lot of here in Belarus, it's not raining much. The first 6 months I was here, it's like, it hasn't rained much. It mustn't rain much here. There was a bit of snow here and there, but not even that much this year. And it's like, it mustn't rain much here in Belarus. And every time it rained for the first 6 months, it was just like a sprinkle, nothing. Like in Melbourne when it rains, man, it can rain. Like you can just pour for days sometimes, not all the time, of course, but in the winter it can. Has capacity. I was saying hello. Hey. People are very friendly here. If you watch a lot of my videos, what you'll see is that people are waving behind me a lot. So if you watch me when I've got my big, beautiful head in front of the camera, you just watch behind. If I'm in a busy area, there will be wavers around, people waving. It's a funny thing. It only happens in Minsk. I've filmed in many cities here, and it's never happened anywhere else, but it's something to do with Minsk. There is more outward, something to this effect. I forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah, rainfall. Who cares? Whatever. But yeah, there's a bit of rain on the ground. Has rained a bit last couple of weeks. After not really raining much, I have to say, in the last 13 months. So this is the front of Galleria. I'm just meeting my buddy very shortly. My other buddy. Got one with me now, hanging out. You see the range of shops here. I don't know what LC Wakiki is. Gipo, which is the one on the top right there. Let me point them out in case you can't speak Russian. Gipo, that's the big shopping center, supermarket down the bottom. Big supermarket. It is, supermarkets are a thing here. Gipo is in the basement. That's a massive supermarket. Some other things you can see, New Yorker clothes store, De Facto clothes store, Mango clothes store. 5 Element is like electrical retailer. H&M, I think everyone knows that. Clothes, obviously. Collins also closed. Sportsmaster here, obviously a sports store. And of course another KFC. You've got one KFC at the top there on level 6. Got KFC there. Got KFC on the corner there. I'd say within 300 meters you have 3 KFCs, if you could imagine. As I was saying before about the food, so nothing's expensive here, but then nothing's really cheap either. If you look at the per capita income here and you compare it to other countries with a per capita income that's similar, average per capita income that's similar, what you find is that you can often get a $1 or $2 meal in those countries. So Thailand's a good example. Thailand and Belarus are very similar in terms of real GDP per capita, right? But in Thailand, you can get $1 and $2 meals everywhere. Whereas Belarus, you can't. They don't really exist. You're looking more at, even the most simple cafeterias that are designed to serve workers and stuff, you're still looking at probably $3. And that's just a basic couple of potato pancakes or something really, gretchka and a bit of chicken or something, like not even a real proper meal. So although nothing's expensive here, because no one's on like really, really low wages, nothing's really cheap here either. But KFC is. So KFC really fits that low budget kind of market there. And thus it's very, very popular. And thus you can have this big one here. This is a big one here. There must be at least 100 people. I'll show you. Let's walk over. Then I'll end the video. I'll just show you inside there and I'll end the video shortly after. My friend's here with me waiting patiently. Wondering what I'm doing. I'll show you inside this KFC. I've actually made a video about KFC and one about Burger King, one about McDonald's. I have to be honest, it's not a topic that particularly interests me, but I know that people find this stuff interesting, comparing like for like, just makes it more relevant. So it's getting that time of night. I hate this time of night filming. You can see the bucket there, the KFC bucket. It's kind of blurring because the camera doesn't know where to focus too much. It gets a bit confused, it seems, when things get a bit darker. Just go around these Chinese girls here, and I've got another couple here, and we'll go around them and into here, and you can kind of see in the window there's lots of people. See how busy it is. It's only 5:30, not even really dinner time actually, but this place is always full. There must be 100 seats in here. Now keep in mind that there'll probably be some music in there, so I might have to mute this to stay monetized. You got your Coffix, which of course is everywhere. Again, sorry for the jumping in and out of focus. And this is how big this place is. Could you imagine? There must be enough space for 100 people in here. Let me just zoom back out a bit. Got the street zoom on so you can see, and it's always full. Always full. Because the prices are so low. You can see there. Twister set for 9 rubles. Let me zoom in there. I'm reading it just there. Zoom in on that. Twister set 9 rubles. That's about $3.50, and it's everything: drink, fries, burger, what have you. And there's a lot of micro meals there for like $1, or even less than $1 actually. So KFC really fits that low-end budget that you can't really get anywhere else, you know. So those Chinese girls just went past, 4 of them, and that's what you see here a lot is Chinese. And something's happened. I don't know if it's a time of year, but I was at migration yesterday, and I met a whole lot of Chinese people, and one of them gave me a ticket, so I jumped the queue with them. I've lost my buddy here. Where'd he go? Anyway, they were leaving because the university year's just finished. They were all leaving, and I've just noticed a massive amount of Chinese people around. So I figure that a new batch of students has kind of come in, and now that kind of COVID and stuff is more or less over, even in China, they're kind of opening up and going around the world again, and there's a lot of Chinese here. I'm really amazed at how many there are. Because of course we have a lot in Australia, and I'm very close to a number of Chinese people in Australia. A couple of my former students. I used to be a university professor in Australia, and a lot of students, but some of the students, they kind of, they come over to Australia, they're like 17 or something. Yeah, they're a bit vulnerable. They kind of like the nice, friendly, chatty lecturer, so they look for a bit of familiarity. I might teach them in first year, and then they show up to my office every few months for a chat. Especially, I was teaching an accelerated class for a little while for some of the younger undergrads, and that's what they did. And 6-7 years later, they're still in contact, which is interesting. So I'm quite familiar with Chinese culture. I'm very comfortable speaking with Chinese people because I know where they're coming from. And it's kind of funny with these girls. There's 3 of them now that I'm really good friends with, and they must have been 17 or something when they were my students, or 18, and now they're maybe 24 or something like this. And I'm surprised at how incredibly loyal they are. They really respect teachers in general in China, and they really respect me, and it's really flattering to have students want to stick around, because obviously as a lecturer, you don't really want to be friends with your students, right? It's not my goal, that's for sure. I mean, I'm very friendly. When I was a lecturer, I was very friendly and chatty, engaging, and I was very good at doing that. But you don't assume friendship with your students, right? But sometimes they're kind of sticky, as I say, and they're kind of vulnerable in a sense, some of these kids. And they kind of need, a bit of stability maybe, and you can give them that stability. So kind of happy to provide that. And they, as I say, the Chinese in particular, actually there's another guy I forgot about, Kong. He's another one. He, very sticky. And you never kind of know, because like in that accelerated class where the 3 girls come from, that's kind of different because we speak every day. You know what I mean? We speak and chat a lot. Like you engage a lot. But when you're in a lecture theatre and you're the lecturer, you're yelling at 300 kids some crap about supply and demand, and you don't really know who cares and who doesn't, you know? Whereas in a class, a smaller class, tutorial we call them in Australia, you know, because they talk to you, they want to talk to you after class, they might walk with you for a bit, whatever, in one direction. That's kind of normal. But as I say, this is very unusual for Aussie kids. Like Aussie kids, they want to have a chat too sometimes, but you wouldn't have them being so sticky throughout the years. Like I'd be surprised if an Aussie student stuck like that. It's not really normal in our culture. And they don't need to. They got their parents here, they got friends, but yeah, there's something about that stability for the young ones coming from overseas which can kind of help them just feel a bit more grounded in a country. So anyway, yeah, that's how I'm so familiar with Chinese. All right, I can see my friend over there, so I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. Thanks for the chat. I hope you enjoyed a little bit of a chit chat, a little bit of a people watching. Lots of people coming out. It's that kind of time of evening where people are going for dinner. So I'll say goodbye now, and I'll strategically not film my friend as I go over there. I'll just keep the camera this way. Funny, actually H&M, so they closed the first week of the current conflict in Ukraine, and now I say current conflict and things are about to escalate, it seems. So I'm saying this a bit blind in terms of what might happen in the next week or two, but I suspect it might be something big. So do forgive me, but they shut up shop here, H&M, within the first week of the conflict back in February. It was Feb 24 from memory. They just opened 2 weeks ago. So I'm filming this. I think it's October 1, October 2 today. I can't really remember. Maybe October 2, 2022. And they just opened maybe last week or week before, even though the conflict in Ukraine is still ongoing. So that's kind of interesting how they just suddenly opened. I noticed Binance started working here. I no longer have to use VPN for my Binance account. And I know locals here are now opening Binance accounts at the moment as well. I have lost my bro. Where did he go? Oh, there he is. All right, I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. Yeah, thanks for the chat. If you enjoyed the content, let me know. I'm here to serve you in my favorite hobby at the moment. I'm feeling motivated to make videos at the moment. So if you like the content, encourage me and like it, because I might go all ADD and stop making videos. Thank you if you're a subscriber. And if you're not, and you've made it all this way, I think you probably should become a subscriber, because you'll see lots more content like this if you subscribe to my channel. All right, have a good evening or morning or afternoon, depending where you are. Ciao for now.